Good afternoon, Oak Grove. Happy Thursday. Welcome to this week's installment of the Midweek Update series here on the church's YouTube channel, where I just populate into your devices in the middle of the week to say hello and to try to keep the church on our consciousness for the rest of the week that we're not in worship on Sunday morning, because that is oh so very important for us to do. So thank you for taking just a few minutes to join me on here. And I say a few minutes because I really am making a concerted effort to try to shorten these videos, because for a while they got way too long. I just want to pop in and say hello and keep the video length manageable so that people will actually watch it. So I know you don't have all day to sit here and watch me, but what are we going to talk about today? I just thought to myself that perhaps I would just kind of share with you my experiences over the last week, because it's just kind of been all over the place. And experiences, both sad and happy, have happened that are just a snapshot of what life is like in the church and what it means to be church for one another. So I got my iPad open here in front of me, and I'm looking at my schedule for the last week. And, I filmed last week's video on the 23rd, and then the very next day after that, on the 24th, that was the day that we laid Tom Applequist to rest. And so I got up early Friday morning to start working on opening up the building. And even though I thought I got up early, there were others who already had stuff opened up before I did. I'm never going to get up before some of the folks around here do. But we got the building opened up, and I met the funeral home folks here when Tom arrived so that we could lay him out. And then, the service was at 11 o'clock. The luncheon was immediately following that. And once again, thank you to Gloria for always coordinating the funeral luncheons. We ate for about an hour and a half together, and then there was a private interment just for family at Sylvania Hills Memorial Park, and so we laid Tom to rest on that day, and that extended a good bit into the afternoon for that. That was about 2:30 by the time I got back from that. Then, on Saturday the 25th, as I was taught when I was doing my pastoral internship, you really have to emotionally switch gears sometimes. You go from a very somber event such as the farewell to Tom to the Green Valley trunk or treat that day on Saturday evening. I was going to say afternoon, it was evening. The Oak Grovers who participated, we met here in the parking lot at the church at 4 o'clock. We started loading up the truck. We used Ken Gehring's pickup again this year. Thank you, Ken, because his truck has a built-in generator in it that you can plug things into an AC outlet in the back there. So we used his truck again. We loaded up a tent that was graciously donated by Ollie Dombaugh, and a whole bunch of decorations and signage that were donated by various folks in the evangelism committee, and bunch of huge bags of candy. And we loaded up and we went out to Green Valley Park, and we participated in the trunk or treat from 5 to 7. In addition to candy, we also gave out the Oak Grove business card magnets that our evangelism committee worked so hard on developing over the last couple of months. And I'll tell you what, I don't know what the crowd was officially like this year in terms of the attendance, but from the moment the gates opened, we were continuously busy that whole entire time. It never stopped with a line of kids at the booth until 7 o'clock when it was finished. I seem to remember last year it felt like there were lulls in the crowd. Like we'd have some folks for a while, then there'd be a lull in the crowd, and then we'd have more folks. This year it felt like the crowd just never ever stopped. So that was a very cool day. That was enjoyable. I had fun last year, and I had fun again this year doing that. And it was a very big emotional gear change from the day before. And then Sunday comes around, and of course we had worship Sunday morning. It was Reformation Sunday. We welcomed a guest organist to join us that day, and we thank Marge for her service that day. And an Oak Grover, I'm not going to say who, actually informed me afterwards that I sang so loud on Reformation Sunday that I actually hurt their ears. And so it's not funny that somebody was hurt, but I have to chuckle that apparently my big mouth can actually be weaponized in the right concentrations. And so, but it was a wonderful Reformation Sunday worship followed by adult class. Then Sunday evening, my wife and I and Barb Midzenberg, we all piled up and went out to Yex Farm for youth group, our joint ecumenical youth group with Unionville, which is largely Unionville's youth group, but some Oak Grovers tag along with them. We only had 2 Oak Grove youth there, plus myself and Julie and Barb, but it was a fun night. We hung out at Yeck's Farm, and we grilled hot dogs and s'mores, and we hung out in the pavilion, and the adults talked while the kids played games. And then we finished the evening off with a hayride, and it was very chilly. It was 35, 40 degrees, and it was a chilly evening. But I had not been on a hayride in years and years and years, so that was a really fun, neat thing to do. I enjoyed that. And then Monday rolls around, and, I was in the office for most of the day Monday, but then Monday evening, I headed up to the Buell House, the historic Buell House up in Zelienople for the practice session with the Blenders Men's Chorus as we practice to get ready for our annual Christmas Carol event in December. So a handful of the Blenders got together that evening for men's chorus practice. We practiced our Christmas carols as well as a few other things. And went over some info and assigned some parts. And then, Tuesday was a fairly standard day in the office. Wednesday morning was a fairly standard day in the office, although Wednesday morning we had another 2-hour-long policy and procedure subcommittee meeting where we went over work that might be considered very dry, going over our preliminary steps to amend the Oak Grove Constitution for 2025 because the ELCA released a new 2025 model constitution after church-wide assembly this year. And it is time for Oak Grove to update our constitution because we haven't done so since 2018. And so that was a long meeting full of information that might have been extremely dry to most people, but there are people who do get excited about that kind of work. One of them being our own Brandon James. Brandon lives for that kind of work, and so he's excited to do things like that. It is good to know there are people who enjoy that kind of work. And so that leads me up to today. Why did I share those things with you? No real particular reason, other than just to illustrate that all of those different experiences, they are all church. They are all expressions of the way that people continue to work throughout the week to make the ministries of this place happen and work not only here in this building, but get out of this building and do things in other places to reach people with the gospel. All of the young kids that were running around at Yeck's Farm Sunday evening, that was a fun time. That was an experience and a memory that we hope they carry with them for a long time. Granted, there wasn't a whole lot of church talk going on then. There wasn't a Bible lesson or anything like that. But hopefully what they come away with and a memory that goes with them into adulthood is the happy memory that the church was a safe place for them and a welcoming place for them. And hopefully that is something that sticks with them a long time so that maybe if they drift away from the church someday, maybe they eventually come back because they remember that church was a place where they were welcomed and affirmed and where they had fun and felt loved and valued. And so I just wanted to share with you these different things just to show the different expressions of what it means to be church. And every week when I start this video, I say, so that we keep the church on our consciousness for the other 6.5 days a week that we're not in worship. Church never stops. It doesn't stop when we walk out of the building on Sunday morning. Church continues to go on every day of the week, and we continue to be the people of God everywhere we go and in everything we do. And so that's a very optimistic and happy and uplifting thought that I hope you take with you on this dreary Thursday afternoon. Right now it's raining and it's overcast at the parsonage and it's fairly dreary out. And so that's something positive to carry with you in a world full of relentless bad news. Right now, of course, we can certainly turn on the news and see all about the government shutdown and all of the negative impacts that it's having on people. So in a world full of bad news, like I talked about in previous weeks, we have to focus on the good where we see it. There's some expressions of where the church is up to good. So that's what I just thought I'd share with you today, Oak Grove. I will see you all in worship on Sunday morning. Thank you for watching. Take care. God bless and have a wonderful rest of your week.